welcome to this week's Ag Report. This week we have special guest Kevin Krause, the Waxahachie Sun's own Ellis County weather, joining us. Kevin, I appreciate you taking time to talk with us a little bit today.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here.
So today we're going to kind of talk a little bit about weather, the winter season, coming up. Who knows what that's going to look like? You can kind of flip a coin. It might be hot, might be dry, might be wet, might be cold and icy. But that's why you're here, Kevin, to kind of talk to us a little bit about that.
That sounds good. Yeah, it's hard to say exactly what's going to happen. So it'll be good to have a discussion about what to do in any situation, because here in Texas, we have to be ready for anything.
Yep. So what we're going to kind of talk about a little bit is agriculture and kind of being prepared for the winter season, what that kind of looks like. Remember, wasn't too many sleeps ago that we're off the heels of Winter Storm Uri, kind of an epic winter storm there. Lots went on in Texas with that. But just, we're going to talk a little bit about basic, preparedness. So what that may look like, and it's going to depend on what kind of animals or livestock that you have. If it's large animals, small animals, that kind of stuff. But just kind of in a nutshell, the general idea would be to kind of be prepared and most importantly, kind of know what's going on. Tune into the Ellis County weather and kind of hear what their weekly forecasts are. Know if there's going to be a blue northern or something kind of coming through, a hard freeze, that kind of stuff. And then that will help you to maybe be prepared. And so when I say be prepared, you think, well, maybe what does that look like? Again, it's going to depend on your operation, but basically, kind of one of the first basic things you want to think about is water for your animals. You're going to know if you're on a community well system, or if you're on a public water supply that has a water tower. I say water tower because that gives you water pressure whether you have electricity or not, because of that gravity flow of that. If you're on a community well that like we are, that has electric pumps that supplies that water, then it's real important if that power goes out, you're without water. So if you have livestock, rather than having on-demand water systems, which is just basically like little nozzles that they go up and suck on, or nuzzle horse troughs that have a little bowl that they push on to drink, you might consider having a water trough. That way you've got some storage in case that water supply turns off from lack of electricity, that kind of stuff. The other thing you want to kind of think about is their food, whether that's hay or grain, that kind of stuff. You want to kind of watch those weather forecasts. If Kevin's telling you, hey, it's fixing to rain 2 or 3 inches and might turn into some ice, things like that, you probably want to try and feed ahead of time. Get some extra feed out there to last a couple of days, so that maybe you're not having to go out there in the mud and lob-lolly it around. You've got it kind of out there. And 2, so that those animals can start digesting and creating some body heat and get those enzymes and those their guts kind of going, to get them kind of prepared. You don't want to do that too late. So Kevin, when you're looking at those forecasts, and I know that they change a whole lot and everything, but folks can kind of hear from you a little bit about maybe what's coming up, or a general idea if it's fixing to turn kind of cold and slippery.
For sure. Yeah, I do my best to stay on top of the forecast in the wintertime. Just like any other time of year, it's really hard to tell. As you've seen the last few weeks, it's just been a whole lot of roller coaster, up and down craziness here recently. And a lot of people jumped on the National Weather Service's outlook that they came up with about a month ago or so, and said, well, it says it's going to be warm and dry, so that's going to be it. But the thing is that people need to understand that doesn't mean it's going to be warm and dry for the entirety of the season. That means that that's going to be the general climate. So when you add up all the averages, we may get less rain than average, or it may be warmer than average. And what I try to remind people of is that we actually had that same forecast last winter, that it was going to be a dry, warm winter. But when it comes to the backside of those things, what we talk about is the most dramatic event. So we can have an incredibly dry and incredibly warm winter, but if we get one good snowstorm, that's what we remember. We may think that it's the worst winter we ever had. So it's always good to be prepared for really anything in the winter, because if you have just the right combination of ingredients, just like in severe weather season, if you have the right combination of ingredients, the right place at the right time, you can have some extreme weather happen even here in Texas.
That's right. And that's a good point, that even though, we're either in a La Nina or El Nino or what have you, there can be spikes. That's the whole key to an average, is you've got those high spikes or those low spikes, and it brings it to an average. So we can sure still have an epic snow event or an ice event, or that kind of stuff. And so, we'll talk a little more about being ready and being prepared. And, we're kind of in a world of on demand. When we need some hay, we'll go get a bale, or when we need some feed, we'll go get something, or when we need to go to the grocery store, we'll get a box of Cheerios or something like that. So it's always good to try and have just a little bit, extra, so that if you miss that, weekly trip or something like that, you can get by for a few days without it. Try and maybe have some things stored up in the house there, some sandwich and bread and that kind of stuff, so that if you do have your electricity go off or something, you can still kind of make you a little sandwich, peanut butter sandwich, something or other, to kind of get by for a day or something like that. It's no big thing, but just little stuff like that will kind of help you. And back to the animal side of things, we talk about the hay and stuff. While it is a little bit on the dry side, don't forget where your wet spots are, and don't stack your hay in the wet spot, because then when it gets wet, you remember, oh my goodness, I forgot, that stands in water. And it's gonna hurt the feed quality of your hay that you're trying to give to your animals. And it's sure going to make it hard for you to get out there and get it. And one last key thing to remember, like Kevin talked about, we can still have some dips, even though maybe we're going to be a little bit warmer than average. We can still have cold spells. If you've noticed your tractor or your farm pickup or something like that, when you hit that key to turn it over, dragging just a little bit slower than normal, I'd sure recommend that you get that battery checked out before it gets cold, because that's the biggest killer of batteries is cold weather. You'll go out there and hit that key, and boy, it'll go clack, 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 and you're not going anywhere. And
you're stuck.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, and unless you've got, like I've got, an old Farmall M, they don't put a crank on the front of those things anymore. And so, anyways, like I say, I hope this triggers some thoughts to one, kind of tune in to the Ellis County weather and kind of know what's going on in your surroundings, 3, 4, 5 days ahead of time. And two, think about your operation, what you're going to kind of need, how your equipment, your trucks, are kind of running. Do a little tuning on them. See where you got your hay stacked. Most importantly, try and have you a little bit of hay, on hand, so that you're ready to go when severe weather does hit. And as always, you can tune into the Waxahachie Sun, tune in to Kevin. He's going to stay up. If there's something important going on, he stays up all hours of the night, keeping Ellis County informed. And that's kind of the cool thing that I'm sure his followers have noticed over the years, is you tune into some of the big stations up north, and they're going to show them big cities and that kind of stuff. And that's good. That's what they should do. But Kevin's going to tune into Ellis County, and he's going to tell you the little communities that we've got around here, like Howard, where I live. If there's something, streaming across there, like the tornado last year that went through Bethel over there, those are specific little communities that Kevin knows about, that he can keep you informed. So I hope y'all have enjoyed this Ag Report, Kevin. I appreciate you joining us today, and hope that, we don't have too big a weather that we have to run out there, but I know that you'll be ready when it happens. Y'all take care now.